Welcome to Center Heist Productions. Please hit the likes and subscribe down below in your right hand corner. Muchly appreciate that. Um, yeah, Happy New Year to my followers and to Habs fans. And please share it with your friends and family. And if you come across the channel, please don't leave without subscribing and hitting the likes. I'd muchly appreciate that. You'd be doing me a huge favor. And like I say, I hope everybody has a great New Year and had a great New Year's Eve. All right. And leave your comments at the end of the tape. Just be respectable, as we've been in this now over 2 years. We've built a respectable channel. We review games, and we will go live in the future. Um, and we go and look on the inside of what's going on with the Habs. However, we avoid rumor land. I don't like to feed off of rumor land. We stick to keeping it an honest podcast. All right, let's talk about it. This was Montreal going in last night, January 3rd, into Chicago, which should have been a sure Montreal win. However, I did look at this game as some mistakes were made. Well, we know something went wrong with Savard. Not totally sure because he was a game time decision, so they put Struble in place of him. Lonnie had the flu, so he didn't play. So you knew there was going to be adjustments made. How you put Michael Pizzetta, although I guess you got nowhere else to put. Pezzi was in in the game lineup on line 2. However, there would have been an easy solution to this. This is where I don't get the coaching in this 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Turn line 4 into line 2 is all you had to do, and that way Pezzi's playing fourth line minutes because Doc's not totally out of his game. Still makes last night he made a bonehead play with not covering Foligno. So where he's coming out of his. He's got offensively. He's coming along. He's got to get his defensive game and realize how he played before he got injured in Montreal. They need to show him the tapes of how he was playing defensively because that was one of his strong points. And right now he's struggling with that. Anyway, let's do the stats and we'll talk more. Stats for 1 goal apiece in the first, 1 goal for Chicago in the second, 2-1, 2 goals to 1 for Chicago in the third period. Soderblom got the win for Chicago. Montembeault was in the net for Montreal. Game-winning goal was scored by Patrick Maroon. And your little write-up, Arvid Soderblom saved 38 shots. Nick Foligno scored twice as the Blackhawks snapped a 5-game slide with a 4-2 win over the Montreal Canadiens Friday night. Tyler Bertuzzi added a game-leading 13th goal, and Patrick Maroon connected for the Blackhawks, who rebounded from a 6-2 loss in the Winter Classic Tuesday and a stretch of a 3-game losing streak with 17 goals against to 5. Cole Caulfield and Emil Heineman responded for the Montreal Canadiens. Monty was in the net. 3 stars, Nick Foligno, 2 goals, plus 1. He deserved the first star. Soderblom got 38 saves, 2 goals against. Played a strong game for them. Bertuzzi had a solid game, had a goal, and was an even plus minus. So scoring summary, 321. Montreal gets called on 2 penalties on 1 play. And if the referee had any type of eyeball, you could clearly see the second penalty he called on Jackie's stick did not trip the player. The player lost his edge. So, and kind of odd that they called 2 penalties on a play anyway, but just ticks me off when these guys don't do their job properly. Um, Even though, Jackie's onto him, the stick's beside him. Didn't go, the stick had nothing to do with him tripping. He lost his edge. Clearly, you could see that in the highlight. All right, so anyway, Chicago gets the upper hand and gets to take advantage of a 2-man power play. 321, Tyler Bertuzzi gets one at the side of the net. And that was Carrier not having his man covered. And Trevathan gets the assist. Bedard gets the assist on the power play. And so unfortunately for Carrier, Matheson attempted to do his best. They both got exposed on that, unfortunately, but it was more on Carrier. Matheson was in the right spot for his man. At 18:24, Cole Caulfield comes with a nice goal assisted by Mike Matheson, who had a really solid game, Mike Matheson, even though that went in. That's just because he kills penalties. He had a lot of shots and was very effective for Montreal. He was the best defenseman by far for Montreal last night. 1824, Cole Caulfield gets set up by Matheson and Suzuki. Side of the net, they gave him all the time in the world. He was alone, and he got to outweight the goaltender. And you give Cole Caulfield that much time, he snipes it over the short side shoulder, and easy goal for Cole. Beautiful goal. Just love his hands when he gets the timing to do so. So good to see him scoring. I think he's got 20 goals now. So around that part anyway. So good to see for Cole. So that was at 1824. Unfortunately, the second period starts and Nick Foligno gets a goal. This is where Kirby Doc. You had Gooley and Doc fighting in the back of the net. Then the puck comes out with Dickinson, um, and Gooley takes Dickinson, which he should have, and Nick Foligno slides out the other side from behind the net. And I don't know what Kirby was thinking. And this is just not Kirby. He was so solid before his injury, and he just that time of hesitation, and it's almost like he was asleep, and he snaps his fingers, and then he starts to try to skate there. The shot's taken, and all Foligno's got to do is tip it. You're way too late, Curb. So that's one of his bonehead plays. He's coming offensively, but boy, his defensive game, he's got to get that back because the center game we already knew was an issue with face-offs. That is, sorry, circle game. So bonehead play, but at the same token, I don't. I look at a couple of these goals, and I thought Monty should have had them. That's just me. So I didn't find Monty sharp either. So, yes, his team was not good in front of him, but anyway, so that was assisted by Kaiser and Dickinson. And at 3:01, Patrick Maroon then scores. And again, this was on Carrier and Gooley. Carrier more so again, didn't have his man. Maroon puts it in at the side of the net, assisted by Donato and Smith. So Carrier actually had a bad game. Probably had the worst game for the defenseman. Hate to say it, but Gooley didn't have the greatest game either. 9:45, we get a great response on the power play. Thank God. We get Kirby Doc setting it up to Matheson, and the puck goes in the air, and Heineman is finally on a power play. And what great hand-eye coordination! He bats it out of the sky, and it's legal. It's below the waist. What a great goal for Heineman, and he's been such a beautiful story this year. Can't say enough about him. That was at 9:45, so that tied things up. Unfortunately, at 15:51, um, Foligno. Well, actually, no, that didn't tie things up. That made it 3-2. That gave us a chance, but Foligno buries us at 15:51, and this is where, unfortunately, this is where Hudson got exposed. Didn't have his man. Side of the net. And there was a couple of errors, several errors on this play. Hudson didn't have his man, made an error and got exposed. However, um, Suzuki should have been one of the three. The first forward back wasn't. He was the fifth forward back. So you had Slavkovsky come in, tried to come to the side of the net and take out Foligno. And what I'm thinking, I'm just baffled. Good that he tried to, but this is again not realizing his size. He should have smoked him, cleared him out of the front of the net, and instead of dropping to the ice and trying to just block the shot, he should have smoked him with that big old body. So that was my knock. I got a lot of knocks. Slavkovsky on the forward group gets the most knocks tonight for sure. But on this particular play, and Nick had a great game, and so did Caulfield. Nick was responsible, the next man responsible after Hudson for that fourth goal. He just was dilly dallying getting back, and it's just your center's supposed to be your first guy with your defenseman back. Um, I seen Caulfield in the right spot where he should have been, but anyway, although he was standing around, but at least he was close enough to a player. But Nick, this was the one hit I had on Nick. And I wish Nick could hit like he does. So that was the end of your scoring. Then the shots are 40-26. That's deceptive because they were not danger zone shots for the most part. They're mostly outside shots, and Chicago brought it to us. They might have had 26 shots, but they were going to the net and more high danger shots. 24 hits to 20 for Montreal, faceoffs 23 apiece. Montreal 1 for 3 on the power play, Chicago 1 for 4. Penalty minutes 13 to 11 for Montreal, giveaways 15 for Montreal. There's your problem. Sloppy play. 15 giveaways to 4. Takeaways 8 to 7 for Montreal, not capitalizing. Block shots 14 to 9. That's your lack of having someone doing what Savard does, um, not blocking shots. So your four forwards who were really at least played hard were Emil Heineman, Caulfield, Suzuki, and Josh Anderson. Those were your more standout players. Um, for players who were terrible, Slavkovsky was number one on the forward group. And that's him not moving his legs. When he sees his two partners are playing good hockey, he's got to step up his game because he is meant to be there. There's no doubt about it. I'm not questioning that because he sets those guys up on a lot of goals when he's working. But he wasn't working last night. He was lazy. Like, let's put it straight. He was downright lazy, and that I can understand why Montreal gets frustrated with him when he was talking to him. He's too good to be lazy. Big boy like him, he has to move his feet and crash and bang and work on the boards and win those battles. He wasn't doing that last night. He was the worst forward, in my opinion. Pizzetta, I felt bad for. 5 minutes, he finally gets to play a game in place of Lonnie. All you have to do is put line 4 into line, taking line two's minutes, and put Doc, Pizzetta, and Newhook down as being the line 4 minutes. That's all you had to do because Pez is not getting the ice time, and he's not up to their Alane quality. And we know Newhook's not playing. He plays on and off effort wise. I've seen him standing around on a couple goals too that he could have put some effort in. So you know some of the standing around, a lot of standing around for Montreal last night, and it showed. There was just a lot defensively in their own end, a lot of standing around. But Slav by far was the worst forward in my books. Again, put line 2 as line 1 because Doc got to get out of making those bonehead plays. Again, move your feet, keep pace. He needs to be watching his tapes from before he got injured. All the games he played in Montreal where he was the most effective defensively, and I don't know why he doesn't get that. But anyway, he's coming offensively. But Montreal didn't show it in this game in the sense. Thankfully, they were in it and it was respectable. But Chicago came to play. Chicago wanted this game, and this is why Montreal is not in the mix for the wild card. As far as the wild card, they will not get it because it's bonehead losses of games. When you're playing the 32nd team, last place team in the league, you have to win that. That shows what you're about. I think it was missed. I think Dobish should have been in the net for this one. Personally, didn't like Sam's, and people wanting to pump up Sam. Sorry, he was just as responsible as guys that weren't having great games, like Carrier, Gooley, Struble, and Slav. He was just as responsible. He didn't have a great game. A couple of those goals he could have stopped. They were goals he should have had. The last goal he should have had it. There was a shot with the tip in. I think he should have had that as well. He could clearly see it. So I don't know. There are just a couple goals there, just way too soft. So he's just as responsible. I'm not putting it all on him because Montreal didn't defend well in front of him either. So it's kind of a shared defense and the forwards because they're a part of that defensively. It's a shared loss. As a team, you win as a team, you lose as a team. But I think somebody needs to put an electronic device on Slavkovsky that zaps him. Whoever I forget that guy, that coach they hired that's up in the stands. I think he needs to be holding a remote and zap Slav when his feet aren't moving and he's not hitting on the boards. Give him a shot. They got to come up with something because this has got to stop. I love Slav, and he's the perfect setup man on that line, but he didn't show up last night. The other two worked hard and were on their own. And that's the sad part of that. Pezzetta, Montreal needs to do right by Pezzetta. This is pathetic. 5 minutes, you finally put him on. Oh, you could have given him fourth line minutes because all you had to do, that line wasn't on par last night anyway. And just give them fourth line minutes, really. And just make line four play the line 2 minutes, really. Emil Heineman, boy, that kid's coming along. He's a future stayer. That kid just gives you 100% in hits, and I wish everybody would do it. Pez tried to hit when he was in, but he doesn't have the skill of a butt. That doesn't mean you give him 5 minutes. Again, all they had to do was make line two, line four, and that's coaching. That's on the coaching. Same with Sam being in the net. That's on the coaching. Um, Defense, what can you say? Carrier had the worst game. Gooley would have been followed up next, and Struble. Actually, I don't know. Those two were kind of tied. Shaky game for Struble just getting back in, but he looked shaky, didn't take advantage of his opportunity as far as I'm concerned. And him and Gooley had a bad game. It's just that Carrier had a worse game. Um, Mike Matheson, Hudson had some bad moments too. Let's not kid yourself. Um, really, Matheson, it wasn't even close. Matheson was by far the best defenseman out there. Jacky was average. Uh, so that's really where that stood. Forwards, again, you heard what I was saying. Hopefully they show up tonight. Hopefully Dobich gets a start, but hopefully they play like a team because this is why they need growth. At least it wasn't a blowout. They at least were in the game. However, you got to win a game like that. That's just and no end of some buts. But for people wanting to blow up Sam Montembeault is not really a true starter. Let's get it straight. When he's on, a lot of those shots wouldn't have been. A couple of those shots wouldn't have been in last night. At least two of them wouldn't have been in. So um, I'm not going to sit there and when I see people, oh, it's not on. Yeah, it is on Sam too. Sam and the team didn't come to play. They weren't sharp whatsoever. Um, I'd say, like I say, Emil Heineman, Suzuki, and Caulfield. And although Suzuki made a mistake on that fourth goal, along with Hudson, who didn't have his man, but Suzuki should have been the next man up and wasn't gliding in. He was doing, I'll call it the Slav glide in. Yeah, so that was on him, but he did have a strong game. But his circle numbers were terrible. Dvorak had good circle numbers. And Evans. The fourth line, there's nothing to knock on the fourth line. Um, Galley, you could see. I love what I like with Galley is he does try to get to the front of the net. He's the one guy that does. But that third line wasn't bad either. It was average. I think Galley was just a little bit frustrated. He's probably feeling frustrated. He wants to be able to score, make a difference more, but he shouldn't be thinking that way because he's not that line played all right, and Anderson was very strong as well as the other three I mentioned. Heineman, Suzuki, and Caulfield. That was your forward group. And Matheson, outstanding. Tons of shots last night. He had an outstanding number, and he was by hands down the best defenseman on the team, with Jacky probably being the next one that was at least steady. And that's and Hudson. Yeah, he had some bad moments on and off. Good offensively, but he had some giveaways. And that's it for this one. You've seen it here first at Center Ice Productions. Let's hope we show up tonight and we have to play solid in front of the rookie. You've seen it here at Center Ice. We'll catch you in the next review, which will be after tonight's game. Let's hope we make a game of this, make it exciting, because that game last night was boring. It was only Chicago that really showed up. They wanted it. We didn't. Thank you for watching. God bless. Catch you in the next one.